All right, you guys. I am walking around right now trying to find my computer. That way I can read it. Read your questions really fast. I am trying to juggle having a puppy in my hands while also trying to do tarot. This is Themis. Hey. She's brand new to the world. She's only 2 months old. Themis is the goddess of um, balance and justice and wisdom, also known as Ma'at. She is just a love ball, and then I have her in a eye pyramid here, all the way down low. It's her little crib. I'm gonna see if I can put her in there without her like freaking out. She's like super attached to me. But as you can see, I have like stones and everything on her. So like she's got this on lock. Art. He's always been like the only dog in the house for like literally ever, like the last 5 years. So like last night we ended up getting her and he was just like not having it. And all day today he's just kind of been like hiding his toys and just being like, no, thank you. I don't want to deal with you. All right. Here we go. Let me just pop this up. Let me just pop this up really quick on my messenger. Kind of was trying to cook because I'm taking care of the puppy all by myself today. This being her first day out in the world. And I'm going to move some things around here, and then we're going to dive into your posts. Give me 2 seconds. I'm almost there. And my question to you guys, can you guys hear me clearly, or is there like some sort of issue going on? Just gonna make sure. Let's do this. I just took it off of the Wi-Fi. My house has been kind of weird lately. It's better to watch on Patreon. So you guys can't hear me at all then. So now it's clear. Okay, awesome, perfect. Sweet. I'm gonna keep a lookout just in case if it runs out. All right, so these are my new cloud cards. They're pretty cool. It's obviously a pretty fat deck made out of like plexi. So I'm gonna start off with we're going to start off with Vicky. I don't have a specific question, but if you have time, what is it that I need to know at this time? Great question. And the moment you guys can't hear me, let me know. That way I will pause and I'll try to figure it out. I originally was going to do this on Zoom, and I was like, oh, let me just test out YouTube Live really fast. All right, so for Vicky, I'm really being told that I need to put one on here. The Ascension 1, and I'm being told for Saturn, and 1 for Jupiter, and 1 for Neptune for Vicky, 1 for Uranus, and 1 for the Master Deck. Okay. So these are new cards. They're not like my other cloud deck. So let's get into it. So Siege at the 11th chakra basically is telling you that obviously right now is the time to seize the moment. Like there's something that's happening right now in your life and you have to make an effort to go after that. And that has to do with Ascension, the 11th chakra. When it comes to Jupiter, the swing card, this says like go with the flow. Like don't try to like fight the resistance. Just like when you're on a swing, you have to gather momentum to like get higher and higher and deeper. Like you really have to put yourself in that position of recognizing that like you've been gathering the momentum, you're doing the massive swing. Like keep going towards that direction. Don't stop swinging basically. But you need to also pay attention to certain signs that are coming out right now that you need to take advantage of. So make sure you make movements, all right? Uranus, which has to do with change, is pulling up gravitation. So gravitation is basically telling you, obviously, you're gravitating a massive shift in your reality because of Uranus. Because of that, like you've been gaining momentum, you're gravitating the change. You need to be seizing the day. And in Saturn, we see the shade. So shade has to do very similar to the shadow. So when your shadow has become so large, it's become shady, or like, you know, like just like a tree can shade you because of the light being reflected so heavily off of it. So you really need to make sure that right now you pay attention to that shadow. Like one of your shadows has grown out of like proportion and it's a little bit larger than it needs to be. So you need to dive in yourself and you need to ask yourself what it is that that particular shadow is pertaining. Since the shade card also has a dragon on it, it has to do with some profound wisdom. Like you know something, but you're not empowering yourself to own that knowledge. When we have Neptune, Neptune comes up with the reversal card, and it's pretty much self-explanatory. Like you reverse whatever that issue right there is. That's what you should be focusing on, and particularly we have the rewind card. So rewind is telling you it has something to do with the past. There's something that you need to correct that is a major like limiting belief in your reality, and it has to be reversed so that you can move past your current situation. You have a lot of movement energy, but right now this issue right here is not letting you fully seize the moment. So you really have to put yourself in that position of recognizing, all right, what's that big dark shadow that I haven't been looking at? Is it like not owning your self-empowerment? Is it you're still mourning something? Is it something that somebody installed in you when you were a child that no longer serves you? So then we have Bert. Bert wants to know about the Ascension dimension. Oops. That one fell out. That one's going at, I'm being told it's going at Neptune. Neptune and Mars. So that's going to be right there. Okay. And then we're going to put Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, and then I have another one for Mars, and then the Ascension. All right. Put this right over here. So, we're going to start over. We're starting here. This is where we started. The Labyrinth is basically telling you that there's something in your soul right now that is coming to the surface, and it is something that you need to like seriously trek up. Okay, so this has to do with your soul, but it's not like the other soul cards that I have in my other cloud decks. This has to do with like a multi-dimensional aspect of your soul. Like you somehow have unlocked something very profound inside of yourself. And Vicky, just like Bert, are doing Antojai 2 with me. So that very much so could be what's happening with you. And the lightning card comes up, and lightning is basically telling you, hey, like, you have a lot of luck. Like, the luck that's around you right now is so intense that it keeps striking. It's so fast. Like, you're the only person that has to allow this vibration to seep into your ascension. If you do that, you're gonna have an electrified, like, boost going to whatever direction you want to be going towards. There's some sort of reward that you're looking for, Bert, and you want it to appear, but you kind of feel like it's escaping you slightly. So remember, this would also be very connected to this. Like, you're looking for that, like, that movement to trek through all those trails in your ascension. You have a lot of energy. Just kind of like go with the flow and let it like summon itself, all right? Like, don't try to fight it. There's something in Venus. Venus has to do with love, and the vaccine card comes up. So the vaccine card is basically telling you there's something that needs to be cured inside of yourself, vaccinated, so that you are open to your love. So like maybe there's a weakness somewhere in your heart or in the general aspect of how you see love in your life. So let that kind of like surface, you know, like allow the massive ascension energy that you have to allow that problem to appear itself. And that's what's blocking you from abundance, not just physical abundance, like spiritual abundance, okay? When it comes to Mercury, we have the break card. So break is telling you, hey, it's time to let go of something that no longer serves you. And it's not just like letting it go, it's like completely destroying it. Like whatever it is that's in your mind, because Mercury has to do with your mind. This thing that you're looking for, that needs to be broken. Like that's part of the illusion itself, whatever it is that you're looking for. So instead of looking for it, ask yourself, like, what haven't I been bestowing upon myself? How have I been limiting myself overall? If you do that at the Ascension Temple, at the Ascension node, we have the spiral, which is also tied to universal consciousness, or like being in flow, the Fibonacci sequence. Like once you're able to break this illusion that you're holding inside of your heart, you'll be able to find the next step. So it really comes down to like this, it's like you have so much energy, but there's something about yourself that you're not allowing yourself to harness the full potential that you have. So really just kind of like focus on some of the things that you've been learning most recently. Ask yourself the question, maybe ask people who know you really well, like what it is that's actually going on in your reality, and maybe you're not seeing that fully. Maybe you already know what it is. Just go with the flow. Not very complicated energy for either one of you. Rudy, what am I still doing that's causing me to stray from my path and halt my momentum? All right, so this one's for Rudy. Okay, we're ready. The Ascension node. Ooh, Jupiter. Ooh, Mars. Earth. Neptune. Mercury. I'm being told another Mars. And a Saturn. And then a Master. So this one's going to just go right here. This is not going on to any planet. So this one's for Rudy. All right. So for Rudy, the problem that's stopping your momentum is that there's something that has to be corrected inside of your system. The vaccine card. So there's something that has to be vaccinated or moved. You have a lot of ascension energy as well, like that's waiting to like just kind of come through and give you a ton of different types of abundance. You're stuck in a mirage that is tied to the Rahu energy that's going on right now. Like a mirage is like, you know, like an illusion basically. It's just something that's there, but it's not necessarily like real. And like sometimes mirages can be so powerful that like a person can find sustenance from that mirage, but not necessarily like find long-term fulfillment from that mirage. And that's why mirages can be very dangerous, because like if you're in
usually they're associated with like the desert, right? Like fire energy. And like usually people find a mirage when they're really dehydrated, and they might start drinking sand thinking they're drinking water, and then they find later that they're causing themselves a disservice. So the main card that comes out here is the mirror card. It has to do with reflection, like self-understanding. And the difference between this mirror card and the other mirror cards that I have is that this one's got a nature aspect to it. The other ones are just more so about like the subconscious or like the conscious. This one's about your nature. What about your nature are you not honoring? Okay, that's one of those things that's really like difficult to do, like, and it's a constant reflection upon yourself. Like when I'm looking at my nature, I ask myself, what are my positives, what are my negatives, like how can I combine those two to create a new option, and then how can I get to the next level by not fighting with myself, right? And that's usually one of the things that the mirror card usually pops up with, is like a level of self-defiance. Like you know what you have to do, but you won't do it for some reason. This thing has to be broken to be able to move forward. Like it's the only movement that's being halted right now is this mirage, this pattern that has not been healed yet. And once you move it, you're gonna find a lot of light, a lot of shining energy, ascension energy. Like that's exactly what you're looking for. Again, this has to do with Neptune though. It has to do with like your ascension path and your soul in general. So here we have like 2 soul cards, we have 2 ascension cards. This is like part of your greater divine template. Like you designed this for yourself to remind yourself about something. So really, ultimately, a lot of times we think about, oh, we have some sort of like obstacle in front of us, like it must be manifesting because I messed up somewhere, right? And it's not that. It's just like, what is it that you are not being honest with yourself about? Like most recently I realized that like certain things happen in my reality because I'm not honest with myself all the time. And like it's a really hard pill to swallow when you realize that. So you have to be able to say like, okay, where haven't I been honest? Pull out a journal, like journal them. They may not all come out to you like all at once, but they will come out if you especially just like sit down. In the earlier tarot that I did for the public, I said just sit down and ask your soul a question. Like literally have an interview with your soul, and don't answer for your soul. Just literally ask a question, red or blue, and then you'll hear like a voice like from the distance say blue, you know, or red, whatever it is that you gotta like hear. Once you have a feel for that, ask it on a regular routine, like every day, especially when you wake up early in the morning. That would be the thing that I would tell you to do. That's something I started doing when I was in on my vacation. Literally, I was like waking up in the morning, like half days, pull out a notebook, and like with my eyes closed, ask a question and just write, automatic write. Didn't even care what it was that was coming out. And some of it didn't make sense at the moment, but they made sense like days later. And it was like, whoa. And then once I was starting to fall into that flow, I realized that I was talking to myself perpetually for a while and I hadn't been listening. Earth has to do with the siege card. So the siege card is basically telling you, yo, hey, like this is it. This is the problem. Like you're not being honest with yourself. Plain and simple. Mercury has to do with the blade. The blade has to do with cutting things loose, all right? And since Mercury has to do with the mind, there's something in your mind that is poisonous. That's why you need the vaccine. And that issue in your mind that is poisonous is being generated from your soul because you're afraid of accepting something higher inside of your soul. That's why you're trapped in this mirage that is happening during the Rahu year. But just know that like right now, even though you might be in that mirage and you're in a labyrinth, what it feels like you have a lot of blessed energy. Like you can make it happen. Just stop doing what you've been doing. Like a lot of times you get stuck in this pattern of like, you know, all I've been doing is like doing quantum Reiki, you know, and things have shifted, but they stopped shifting. Like it's time to change. Like I change alchemy all the time, like literally all the time. Even if I'm not using the actual Antojai alchemy, I will change my preset to like, okay, well, I'm just going to start thinking in alchemy. I'm going to be vibrating in alchemy. One of the things I most recently learned as well, like probably like 2 days ago, was like I had this download that said, hey, act as if. And I was just kind of like, okay. And it didn't really hit me until, like, I don't know, it just made sense. It just, I don't know, it just made sense. And it just, I started doing it for a bunch of different things. Like my health started, it was feeling like off again because I deal with my heart thing. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, well, instead of like giving into the sensations of like feeling drained and I can't do anything and like, you know, I want to sleep or whatever, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to say like, I'm already cured. I'm going to live as if like I figured out the answer to this heart condition. Like I'm not going to let it like mess with me whatsoever. I'm cured. I got it. And as soon as I started embodying that vibration and saying like act as if like my ancestors were telling me, I found like a vaccine, literally. And I felt better. And like I haven't, like, usually it comes in waves. Like I can feel my heart get really, really heavy and really full of pain. And then all of a sudden, like, I just have to sleep and I can't do anything. And I can't even focus. Like, I can't even focus on anything. And when I changed my mindset, it's like I broke that mirage of saying, like, I'm susceptible to this. Even though I wasn't giving myself to it, something inside of me was saying, like, it's still powerful. And you have to be able to say, like, nothing has a hold over your mind or your reality in general other than you, because you know who you are. All right, so you got this. I believe in you. You're powerful. All right, so now we're gonna go to Jesse. How can I best approach the strained relationship between myself and my youngest son? Let's find out. A lot of family stuff is coming out too for a lot of people. Like, that was something that came out in the last reading, like, for the full moon. Some of us are dealing with, like, soul family. Some of us are dealing with, like, physical family. Others are, like, really just trying to understand where they fit in a family structure. Like, my family just grew, you know what I mean? And it was, like, crazy. So I really didn't think about it until after we read. So let's find out. We're going to put Mercury. There's an issue here. The psychic card comes up. Like, it has to do something with your psychic abilities. The tension between that relationship. I can't tell right now if that person doesn't believe in what you believe in, and that's probably why there's some sort of like tension there. But I am also feeling that, like, as your ascension grows, that tension between the two of you is unavoidable. It has to happen because as you are both genetically connected to each other, when you manipulate your own DNA by ascending, you're forcing him to ascend. And that's one of the things that I actually personally have realized with my siblings, actually. My siblings cannot stand me. Like, granted, like, we've never had a super, like, amazing relationship. But every time I make a major, like, breakthrough inside of myself, I notice that they become even more, like, resistant against me. So, like, most recently I made a major breakthrough when I went on my vacation, and I went on a psychedelic voyage on shrooms, and I made a breakthrough through my ancestors. And then the next morning I got a notification that my sister essentially blocked me from, like, a bunch of different things on her Facebook page, which is, like, really random. She's never done that before. I didn't take personal offense to it, but I was like, huh, this must be tied to that event that I had of, like, growing my consciousness, right? She must have felt it, and that made her feel like a certain kind of way. Because when you shift your DNA, you're forcing that person to really recognize that there's something inside of them that has to shift too. And sometimes they don't even fully consciously recognize that their subconscious is actually what's pissed at you for making that shift. And that's okay. That just comes with part of the territory. The Ascension card, Lightning. Again, a lot of you are pulling out Lightning. Say, what? You guys are striking gold right now. That comes out on the Ascension node. That means, like, yeah, these two things are very heavily connected. You're generating a ton of power right now. And you need to be able to recognize that, like, with that, it's going to come, like, a dualistic tension coming back and forth with what you're moving forward towards. This is Jupiter. Rewind your abundance. Rewind your abundance. Maybe try to make a little bit of an effort to talk to this person. If you haven't been able to talk to them because they won't give you the time of day, like, rewind it in your mind and go to the moments where you started realizing that there was this tension that needed to be answered, right? Like, go back in time and correct those issues with your energy, okay? Still, it's going to cause some sort of like shift because of this energy right here. But sometimes that's something else I've done. Like if I've had some beef with someone and I know like it's not wise for me to talk to them right now, I'll travel in my mind back in time to the moments that we had a fight or the moments that we had a misunderstanding. And in that moment, I'll be like, yo, like, I'm sorry, or I'll fix it, or like, I'll do something and I know that I did it. And then I'll come back into the present moment and I'll accept the fact that like, it is what it is. Even if nothing changes in the present moment, I know I did my part to make sure that that energy was whole and that karma was broken. And most of the time, after a little bit, like maybe a week or two of doing that, the person will come around and maybe just send me a message saying, hey, I hope you're doing well, or something like that. And I know I've made that shift. So you should definitely think about doing that yourself. This one goes on Mars. This is the biggest shadow that you have, the dragon, the shade. This is the biggest demon that you have right here. This really, really strikes you hard, and you want that to move so heavily. But this demon is essentially like your war-torn enemy, right? So like, it's not really about you, and it's not necessarily about him. It's about the movement of energy in between you two. So that's something you really got to pay attention to. Mars, again, has to do with gravitation. So that's what you've been manifesting as you've been growing. Like it's been unavoidable. You can reverse this with Saturn, okay? So you have to change the polarity, and I think the only way you can really do that is by going through the rewinding process and using your psychic ability to ascend. Use your ascension not to like impose on his will, but more so just to let him know that like, you know, even though he may be walking his path and he has resistance towards you, everything is fine. And Earth says that's the promise. Like, there's also something inside of him that he feels like you've broken some sort of integral promise, is what I'm really sensing. And this is what's put in the Neptune or the psychic centers, a spiral that continuously keeps going. So kind of like think, where did you kind of fail him? And it might have not been something major to you, but maybe it was a promise that you made. Sometimes it can be stuck in the inner child specifically, and that can be very hard. Labyrinth. Again, that energy is just saying like, this is part of your ascension path right now. Now look at this, you guys. I have a pretty fat deck, okay? The same cards are coming out for a lot of you, all right? Because you're all going through the same vibe, all right? So the last card we're going to have is Uranus, which is seize the day. And I'm still kind of curious what Pluto would have said. This is breaking it. So this is part of your ascension path, like dealing with him. And you need to be able to recognize, okay, like you failed him and that's okay. Like, but you also didn't fail him, because everything, like if you think about the 42 laws of Ma'at, like there are two sides to every truth. Like if someone asks you like, have you committed sin? Yes and no, because through multidimensional law, like there are many possibilities that say yes, I did do that, but there's a bunch of other possibilities that say no, I didn't do that. So like, it's not entirely your fault. It's a perceptual flaw that's being created through him and through you, and it's not necessarily either one of you. Like I said, it's the energy in between. Like the more you pursue your psychic ascension, the more tension is going to happen with this person. So the only option you have is to change the timelines by going back and finding the abundance and correcting that abundance, seizing that energy without fail, and breaking that pattern. That's what you're supposed to be doing right now. Alright, so then we have Anne. I am constantly being tested. Now I pick up on it like super fast. Now I walk in a certain meditation. I'm looking for messages and receiving them at the same time. I just wait now. I'm okay with waiting. I can sense intruders in my energy, and I can pinpoint the intruder. They always come from my third eye, my crown, my root, and my sacral. Nature and water are my best friends. More change is coming with Saturn going through. What can I expect? Okay. So, Anne, I know you like have got some ties here with a lot of like cosmic energy affecting you. So let's go see what this all has to do with Saturn. Oh, something has to appear itself. There's still something hiding in the background. So, and like this year for you is mostly about like revealing yourself to yourself. Like you don't fully know yourself entirely, and that's your biggest struggle right now. I'm being told to put Mercury. So you need to reflect. Like you need to seriously reflect on who you are, what you are, and like how you've developed your characteristics based off of the storyline that other people have left you or have given you in general. It's really important to recognize that like the real person that you are is not the person that's reacted to all the trauma that's happened to you in your life. And that's something that's really hard for a lot of people to like recognize, because we develop our personalities from that standpoint of saying like, okay, like this person, you know, did this horrible act to me, like, and because of that, like I developed all these traits. But ultimately the things that happen from the illusion are not your real self. So this year is really discovering not only like your inner strength, but how you've been creating the problems that you've been dealing with and the interactions that you've been running with. Maybe because your perception of reality is really like rigid, on the sense of like, you know, there's light and dark forces, and like dark forces are super strong. That can be something that's really, really difficult. You need to repair your heart. Venus is what it's saying. You need to really put yourself in this position of recognizing that you got to love yourself more than anybody else can love themselves. But sometimes a lot of people put themselves in this position where they love themselves so hard, and they're trying to practice that in a conscious, benevolent way. But then they feel like by loving themselves, they kind of have to like tell everyone else to like fuck off, right? Or be very aggressive with their energy to say, I love myself. Loving yourself doesn't have to be aggressive. And the best example that I learned most recently was when I went on Sedona, when I went on my trip to Sedona. Like, I had to choose to love myself without being negative towards anyone. I just recognized that I had needs and I had a certain expectation for how I wanted my life to be, especially being in that moment, such a sacred space. And I chose to love myself without having any negative, aggressive energy with anyone, even though that energy was very much so present in my reality. So when you repair your love for yourself, like don't do it from a state of victimization of saying like, hey, like I gotta love myself like ferociously because nobody else is gonna love me. Like that's creating more pain. You're creating a reality out of pain. One of the things I've been really downloading lately is how we create flaws through our mental scapes. Like we don't really think about it very often because it's so natural for us to think in a certain way. But every thought, every thing that we put out there, most of the time is created with a flaw. Like I want to, you know, love myself, but I got to do that shit aggressively, right? Because I'm never gonna find anyone. That's pain. That's pain. Instead of saying like I'm gonna love myself because I know this is the path. This is what I have to do to unlock more of whatever it is that I'm looking for. That's gonna open up a reflection and an appearance that you wouldn't have otherwise found because you would have had like, you know, a negative polarity. So really, like this goes for everyone. Think about the core of your issue and how that really reflects upon you. Uranus, this is what's needed for you to ground. And Jupiter, this, until you correct this issue, you're going to continue to deal with financial issues or financial like turmoil here and there, because this is what needs to be moved entirely. Do that and you will shine brightly. Those are all the cards that are coming out for you. Okay, so we're gonna go to Kelly. I just started my own business selling crystals and I just want to know if I'm going to do well. Okay, so hello Kelly. This goes for the same thing I just said to Anne, okay? What are you creating? Like right now you're creating from lack. Like you're like, I'm hoping it's gonna do well. It's not like hope. you're creating the outcome. Like, it's gonna do well, period. Like, that's what's up. That's what you want, right? So unless you don't want that, then don't manifest it. Let's see, Jupiter. Poison. I also felt like this card should have gone over here. So we're gonna put that one over there, and I'm gonna put this one over here. Okay, so poison for Saturn. So there's a lot of toxicity in your life right now. Toxicity that needs to be answered for and needs to be like moved out of the way. You might have noticed that this whole entire year was probably a little bit more difficult than all the other years, and you probably would have felt like you're being psychically attacked or you wanted to give up in general. Like, it's because you've been carrying that for a very long time, and I'm hearing like multiple lifetimes you've been carrying this poison, this toxicity inside of your reality. Jupiter has to do with abundance, and it says action. Obviously, take action. That's what you're doing right now. Great, fantastic. Especially with the sturgeon mood, there's nothing better you could be doing right now. Venus, siege. Continue to do exactly what you're doing. What is your heart in it for? That's another thing I've been learning lately. Like, are you doing things because you want the money, or are you doing it because you are happy doing what you're doing? Are you doing it because you feel indebted to other people, because you have some other vibration behind it, or is it because you're doing it out of love? Earth, gale. It has to do with like smooth sailing, right? Like just like going through. So like your foundations right now have actually really opened. They're really good. You just got to keep taking action and seizing, just knowing that you're working from a heart space. The siege is really just saying keep working from a heart space, and the rest of it's going to start making sense. The next card, Blaze at the Ascension, and we then have Flight at Mercury. So Blaze is super great. It's like really fire energy. It's like saying we're creating things, we're out there, we're making it happen. Like, you are the phoenix, you're like in it. All right, so don't stop. Like, whatever it is that you're doing right now, don't stop. The only problem is that you're flighty in your mind. Okay, so make sure you kind of like jot down notes. That's something I've been doing too lately. I bought this notebook, and I'm like, okay, this notebook is specifically just going to be for all the thoughts that come out for like creating courses, creating videos, creating content, because sometimes you try to keep all that stuff in your head, and then you're like, oh, I won't forget about it because it's so important to me, and you forget about it, and then it stacks on, and maybe you're just like, oh, well, you know, I'll deal with it later, and more ideas start coming, and eventually you stall out. It's kind of like you overheat yourself like a computer would, because you're not fully embracing your divine ability, okay? So make sure you focus on that. But your crystal shop is going to turn out just fine. The Saturn energy says that you're going to come with some issues, right? Like, you might have some shitty clients here and there, but that's part of like the poison coming out of your reality. Don't be afraid of it, okay? Natalie, I would like to hear what the cards have to tell me. All right, so let's see. All right. Transfer. There's something that needs to be shifted, and you're really stepping into like your Akashic records. That has to do with massive shifts. So you must be transferring something deep within your soul, between your cosmic body and like the rest of reality. You're literally quantum leaping is what it's saying right now. But you also have to recognize that like you need to take a break. Maybe you've been doing a lot of like self-improvement and self-work, but you need to be able to say like, okay, I'm gonna let my mind just coast. Like, don't hyper focus on anything. Just know that whatever you're channeling and whatever's coming through is needed. Like, this card being on Saturn, transfer being on Saturn, is really powerful. It's like mega powerful, because it's not only like you're destroying something, but you're completely replacing it, and it's super high density energy. The fact that the Akashic records are at your 11th chakra, or like at the center of everything, means that you're coming into divine alignment with something that you've been wanting for many lifetimes, and now is the time to like reap the rewards. So the best way to reap those rewards in Jupiter is to stay lucid. All right. The lucid card is basically telling you like, continue to meditate, continue to be in that vibration, but don't get caught up in your head. That can sound like an oxymoron, right? you need to just recognize that you're magic. Live magic. Let magic find itself, pan itself out. The rest is just going to make sense as you go along your path. Like, it's not really that complicated. Just stay lucid. Like, the lucid energy is all you need really to like tap into that energy. You're going to have some struggles with the Uranus energy. It's not going to be easy. Like, especially when you're quantum leaping, there are so many fears that come up because an old version of you is like, I'm not ready to transfer. I'm not ready. What if we transfer over and like it doesn't pan out the way you think it's going to pan out? Like, that's the biggest struggle that you're going to be dealing with right now. So like, those are probably the thoughts as well, that you're like, snooze, like, who cares? I'm just going to stay lucid. Like, let me just keep coasting over. Night, Venus. Don't focus too much on love right now. It's time for you to just kind of like embrace the power of the moon, the power of the night. Like right now, it's a very divine feminine energy, a very divine shadow energy. So embrace that. Use that to your advantage. You're basically stepping into dark alchemy without summoning dark techniques. Like, you have to correct something in your divine feminine, and then all of a sudden you're going to be in exactly where you need to be. Not saying that you won't get there even if you don't correct something in your divine feminine, but just recognize that since you're so deep into it, you can make the struggle shift even faster by using water energy, the aqua energy, movement energy. So like right now we're going through a lot of like shifts with like water, like the sturgeon moon has to do with water. So like maybe, you know, since today the moon is still pretty active, pull out a notebook, write down what your objectives are and the shifts that you want to make in your reality. Roll with that. That's all you really need. And then the last card is going to be Neptune. Again, your psychic centers are going to feel like overloaded while you're doing this. This is very similar to this energy over here. So just one step at a time, boo-boo. One step at a time. Don't like overburden yourself. Don't overcomplicate it. Everything's coming your way. You got this. You got this. Samantha. A few years ago, I had a life-saving surgery that saved my life, and I only had maybe hours left to live. Whoa, that's crazy. I know what that's like. What is my purpose this lifetime? Why was my life spared? First of all, girl, it's because you didn't want to die, okay? Like, let me just tell you something from Axel's perspective. I think I've had like over like 5 or 6, I don't remember, I'd probably say closer to 7 like life-threatening experiences in my life. Probably more, honestly. And every time I've had that same kind of question, like, why am I still alive? Like, I should have been dead for sure. I should have been dead that one last time. And it's because you didn't want to go. You knew you had something more to do. Like, that's pretty much it. But let's find out more. Again, because you wanted to stay. Siege. The reason why you were spared is not because you were spared. Saying that you were spared is victimization. It's saying that somebody else is telling you how you're going to live your life. We choose when we come in and when we dip out, okay? We choose how long we're going to stay here for whatever reason, okay? Some of us are coming here because we have a divine mission. Some of us are coming here because we're on vacation. Some of us are coming here because we just wanted to have an experience. Like, we just wanted to do something. And others are here because they have some karma that they got to deal with. Like, they're being punished in some sense. So for you, you just didn't want to go. Like, you felt like there was something more here for you. Venus, you felt like there was something here that needed to be cured. That might have been the collective that you felt like needed to be like helped, or it could have been something that you felt like, hey, I'm still not done correcting something inside of my own reality, and I can't leave until that's taken care of. And that came from a very heart-centered space. So the time that you were about to die, that was probably one of the most powerful moments that you had in your life, okay? So you need to remember like what it was like to have that energy and say like, just like recognize that you lived, right? Like somewhere between the moment that you were about to die and the moment that you figured out that you were going to live, that was a sweet spot. That was a moment where you were in complete control of every aspect of your reality, and you made that conscious decision of like, nope, I'm staying right here. If you can reconnect with that moment, because everything is emotion, energy in motion, right? Emotion. So connect to that vibration, own it, and replay it. Like, Don't relive the trauma, but relive that in-between moment between life and death. And when you find that and you hold that as a vibration in your reality, you're going to be able to make some crazy shit happen. Now Uranus is coming up. That's what you need to repair. Like, there's something inside of you because of that life and death situation that you feel like unresolved, like you feel lost. And I know you're saying, like, what's your life purpose? Your life purpose was to recognize that you had that much power and that you could repair not only yourself but other aspects of reality as well. But Saturn says your main interest was the earth. Maybe you weren't fully conscious at the time that you knew Gaia needed your help. Maybe back then, you never would have saw Corona coming, right? A lot of people didn't, but that's why you chose to stay. Like, you knew you had a higher purpose for the general collective. So you chose to appear in this lifetime as well to cure the poison that was at the foundations of this planet. Jupiter, you also had a lot of psychic ability that you wanted to tap into. Neptune, that you wanted to exploit and bring all to the forefront. Pluto, so you could transform and change the gravitation of this planet. So you made a promise. You made a promise to this dimension, to somebody, to yourself, to a higher consciousness, to source, that you were going to come here, you were going to have this experience. Even though we come down here and we choose to like help these beings on earth that are not ascended, that's a conscious choice that we promise the collective. We don't promise anyone in general, is what I've really realized. Maybe we promise our people because maybe they need, if you're from another planet, like they needed intel. Maybe you just felt the calling that Gaia needed help and you said, I promise to help you. That's exactly the vibration that you had. I made a promise thousands and thousands of years ago that I wasn't going to leave until I felt like humanity was given all the tools that it needed to ascend and move past its own limitations. So that came to bite me in the ass because I stayed way longer than I anticipated. I won't lie to you, the first time I made that choice, they told me, you're going to be here forever, B2 jobs. And I was like, nah, I'll get this shit done real fast. And obviously, fast forward like thousands and thousands of years, and I'm here right now talking about it. So you got this. Like, that's why you were spared. That's why you spared yourself, really. Marcella, what was the best practice for me to help let go of self-victimization? Very powerful. Continue to create momentum. And I'm being told that that one's both Saturn and this one. Right now you're going through like this back and forth of momentum. You need to be diving into your shadow and then coming out into consciousness. Diving into your shadow, going back into your consciousness. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Just like a swing. Because right now, like the way you pull out, like you have a very hard set perspective on Earth and like material realms, okay? Like, especially because like you have an earthly life, and like, how do I explain this? The illusion of this third dimension is stronger in your mind than it is like for you to fully ascend. So like, you're still a victim to the story of Earth. You believe that some of the details that have happened to you actually matter, okay? And this is a really hard pill to swallow that I've also just like recently downloaded. Some of the things that we justify as an experience to move forward, they're just illusions anyway, right? Because the people who ended up doing whatever pain that we experienced, they were living under illusion, so they didn't know any better, right? So you, like, similar to Anne, like justifying your reality based off of the like the self-victimization has happened, is you just saying like, I'm really enthralled into the illusion. You need to come to a realization that everything that happened that was negative happened because you were unconscious trying to awaken yourself to consciousness. All of it was an illusion, even though it felt like mega, 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 mega real. So like, the mattered world is not the ultimate answer to like your existence. And that's what a lot of that trauma, the abundance of that trauma is coming from. That's Jupiter's telling you, like, it's tierra, it's the earth. Like, your earthly incarnation is what is causing you that major limitation overall. Uranus. You need to just burn this away. Like, just burn it away. Like, it's recognizing that it was all an illusion, just like I told you right now. Venus. If you do that, you'll be able to see clearly. The things, the answers that you've been looking for will appear. And that fire, like, there's a lot of elemental energy that's coming out for you right now. There's, up here is icy. And then we have blaze fiery and tierra earthy. Like, you're still stuck in duality and polarity. The elements are tied to the second dimension and the fifth dimension. The second dimension is where like polarity, mission, and purpose come to play, and the elements start forming themselves. The fifth dimension directly corresponds and interacts with those elements on the second dimension that are being formulated. So you need to ask yourself, do you have a purpose or do you have a mission? If you have a mission, or you just feel like you have it but you don't know what it is, you're causing yourself a disservice. You're polarizing yourself. If you have a purpose to just exist and to ascend, that's a wiser choice to take. But recognizing that, like, all the things, even the things that are happening to you today, they're all just part of the illusion anyway, because the real you is the ascended you. It's not the version of you that's having the earthly incarnation. The earthly incarnation is very, very important for you. Like, you have to vibrate with that vibration, but you also have to recognize that, hey, like, it's not everything. It's not everything for you. Mercury is telling you, do this, you will transfer. Earth is telling you, rewind. Okay, rewind back and depower those subconscious earthly beliefs that have limited you. And reflect. It's a moment for you to reflect on that power and put to sleep the things that no longer serve you, to unlock that massive amount of abundance that you have. That is your promise. That's the promise you made yourself when you came into this incarnation to grow. We got 2 more questions left over. Hopefully that was helpful, Marcella. This weekend, I was given a very powerful group shadow healing. Thanks to everyone who was involved. This is coming from Lila. Where I was told I have sorrow at my core, that I've been manifesting from this sorrow and developed some patterns around my reactions to those manifestations. What cards can tell me around this aspect that I can correct myself from? I had some insights around what I need to do, wondering if that is correct, but also if they have other messages for me. Thank you. All right, so let's go see what we have going on for Lila. All right, almost done shuffling. Trying not to scratch these cards because they're plasticky. The Ascension chakra. You need to break that pattern, girl. Like, straight up. Like, how do you do it? Break it. Just say you're not going to do it anymore. Like, why do you have that sorrow? I'm not going to feel sorrowful anymore. Like, some people deal with anger. Some people deal with some other stuff. Like, just say you're not going to do it anymore. You're that powerful. You can really do it. Your abundance comes from rewinding and looking at the past again and being able to say, like, I'm not going to let you hold any sort of control over me. If I were you, I would focus on the sorrow. And like, if the sorrow was like a golden brick road taking you exactly to where you need to go to recognize what's going on in your reality, okay, fine. Go walk that path. It'll take you to the past. It'll take you to those moments where you develop the sorrow. Every time you find the sorrow, break it. Bam. That's it. That's it. All right? You're reclaiming your ascended space. Uranus, this is the labyrinth to your ascension. This is the biggest issue that you've been having. That is also, at Venus, the biggest demon that you have that's causing you the highest level of shade. Saturn, this is all for you to open up and accept that you have a higher vibration and psychic ability. Mercury, this is what you've been gravitating. You gravitated this experience to yourself so that you could learn from it. Earth, to learn that you are more powerful than the mirage itself or the illusion that presents itself. Mars, to literally reclaim your power. Like, something happened between your incarnation and like being in the astral that took away some level of your power. Again, Neptune coming out with that lightning. This is your divine psychic thing that you need to come over and learn how to overcome. That's what's going to truly ground you from this experience, is what they're saying. And finally, it'll let you put those things to sleep, because the night will come. So really, it's just like, do that yellow brick road technique that I'm telling you about. You'll find it. But you need to not be afraid to deal with that, okay? Because sometimes when we walk those roads, they can get really scary, really intense. You don't want to do that to yourself. Claire is the last person. Whatever the cards have to say, is always a bonus. Okay, got it. So let's see, almost done here. This is for Claire. The Ascension chakra is the first one that we're going to be reviewing. Just take action. Keep taking action. Jupiter. Taking action to cure anything that doesn't make you feel abundant. Alright, so make sure that you like identify the things that don't make you feel abundant. Person, belief systems, habits. Break those things. Take action and break those things. Look inside of yourself for the biggest change, because there's something inside of your heart that's not allowing you to love yourself entirely. Again, this is a psychic shift that's supposed to be happening during this year for you, and it's supposed to be grounding all of your thoughts. It's supposed to be breaking the illusion that's happening around you, because right now there's something in your reality that seems to not be running smoothly. The only way that you're going to be able to move that is by identifying all those issues that don't serve you and don't make you feel like your highest self. When you find those things and you move them by, like, you know, just being real and taking action, that's going to move. You just need to find what those vibrations are. Mars. If you don't do that, you're going to keep walking around in circles in that vibration. Neptune has to do with the third eye and is telling you to repair that intuition center that you have. So you already kind of like know what you need to be doing. You just haven't necessarily taken full action. Maybe because you're afraid of like what other people are going to say, or like, you know, how you're going to feel overall by just taking those actions. It happens. It happens. The last thing I want to share with you guys is a generalized reading. This is going to help us during the rest of the moon cycle. So I'm going to go boop, boops. There we go. So the full moon, and this goes for everybody, okay? We are in a spiral. We opened up a portal. We are in the vortex. It is happening. We are in the vortex. It is happening. We opened up that spiral. So just make sure you don't stop moving, because that's movement, all right? It ain't going to wait for you, all right? So seize the day. Continue to keep doing what you're doing. Release all the poison that's in your life, like the ones that you're causing yourself, the ones that you're allowing other people to like bring in. Take some time to reflect during this next moon cycle. By the next new moon, there will be struggles, especially because you, from here, these three cards right here, poison, taking action and reflection. These are struggles. Like, those are hard. Sometimes it's really hard to reflect, be real about the poison that's in your life, and then say, okay, I have to make a movement off of that. But remember, you're making that movement. The movement's going to happen regardless of whether or not you want to participate. So if you choose to cooperate with these energies and take your part in it, you're going to see a massive shift in your reality as well. This is all about like polarity, changing the polarity of your reality. The reversal card is basically telling you, yeah, like there are things that no longer serve you, and you're totally 100% conscious of it. But, you know, sometimes it's scary to like make those shifts, but you can do it. It's all about breaking the mirage right now. Like, so many illusions are here. And that was something that we had on the generalized, like the public reading, like a lot of illusion energy. There's not just illusion in our personal realities, there's illusions in the collective reality. Like we see how like the world is trying to like be manipulated by all these different angles. Like, don't give into the illusion of what's going on in the world. Like, detach from the world. That sounds really hard for a lot of people, and some people are like, oh my god, that's like so ignorant to detach from politics, to detach from like the events that are going on. You got to, like, if you're a ascended being, you have no reason to incorporate yourself with lower vibrations that are part of the illusion. Like, enlightened beings will continue to engage the mirage, wanting to change the mirage and save the mirage, but the mirage itself will always change back to that default of being messed up anyway. So you need to be able to recognize that it's not about like being involved in the mirage of the world and trying to take action in the world, but more so taking action in your world. And the rest of the collective consciousness is going to obey and interact with your self-empowerment about your reality. That's really, really, really hard to do for a lot of people. But if you're already doing it, keep doing it. Don't change anything that you're doing. Like, amazing. Stay lucid, yo. Stay super lucid. Stay super, super, super lucid, because by the next full moon, you're going to make a massive transfer. You're going to make a quantum leap. This full moon right here is all about quantum leaping, all right? We're literally walking through dimensions right now, even though we're always doing it, but we're doing it like super, super hard and super, super conscious right now. So you got to totally own that. That is a promise, all right? Like, if you don't listen, that's your own problem, all right? Like, whatever, because the psychic energies are being called upon this reality right now. So put asleep all those things that are not serving you, like the illusions. Put asleep, put a snooze on the poison, really. Put a snooze on the struggle, really. All right, put a snooze on the illusion, the mirage, okay? Because if you don't, you're gonna get swallowed in, and that's gonna cause you the movement that you're seeking. Aqua, all right? Water, the moon, these elements are heavily connected to each other, and they feed off of each other. We know that, like, the moon has like a pull on water on the earth, okay, and the foundations of the earth. So you need to really put yourself in that position of recognizing, all right, like, it's time to change, it's time to reflect, it's time to be real, it's time to change polarity, and it's time to disconnect from the hologram. Like, disconnecting from the hologram doesn't mean like, you know, you stop enjoying your life. It means like, stop creating the old hologram that you created. That was something that my ancestors told me on my mushroom trip, where it was just kind of like, you've been creating these illusions that, again, are flawed, but these illusions have like so many more consequences, because they're tied to a certain personality, they're tied to a certain like objective. Like, you're making your life more complicated than just living, right? So that's one of the things you really got to own up to this moon reading. So thank you so much for watching. I'm sending you all my love. Don't forget to give this video a like, comment below Ascension if it resonates with you, and definitely come back the next full moon cycle. Like, keep notes on what it is that you experienced during this full moon cycle, and when we come back next month over here, tell me if that resonated. Like, all the things I told you, did they come true? Did they like fully like manifest? Because if they did, whoa, I love hearing it, because, you know, it's amazing. It's amazing just to kind of see like how we are all in tune. We already know what we have to do, and we just lie to ourselves. So then, you know, this is a really cool ride. So thank you everyone for watching. I'm sending you all my love. I'll talk to you later.